Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the second session of the Journey of Healing training series titled Introduction to Holistic Forms of Healing. My name is Aaliyah Smith-Gomez, and I am a project coordinator at the National Council of Urban Indian Health, also known as NCUI. Joining me from the NCUI team are Zoe Harris, Public Health Associate, and Amy Lord, Senior Communications Associate. We are honored to have you all here today. We kindly ask that you place your name, organization, tribal affiliation, and title into the chat box. In addition, we welcome any feedback you would like to provide about your webinar experience in our survey, which will be posted in the chat box as well. Next slide, please. As we dive into our section, here are a few things to keep in mind. This session is being recorded. All mics have been muted unless otherwise directed. Questions can be typed into the chat box, and a Q&A will follow at the end of the session. As shown on the agenda, our presenters will provide a detailed presentation of how holistic healing is incorporated within an urban Indian organization. We will end the session with a Q&A, survey reminders, and upcoming opportunities at NCUI. To provide a little background on us, the National Council of Urban Indian Health is the national nonprofit organization devoted to the support and development of quality, accessible, and culturally competent health and public health services for American Indians and Alaska Natives living in urban areas. NCUI is the only national representative of the 41 Title V urban Indian organizations under the Indian Health Service and the Indian Healthcare Improvement Act. NCUI strives to improve the health of over 70% of the AIAN population that lives in urban areas, supported by quality healthcare centers. This activity is jointly provided by NCUI and CADC Services. CADC Services is approved as a provider of nursing continuing professional development by the Montana Nurses Association, an accredited approver with distinction by the American Nurses Credentialing Centers Commission on Accreditation. This program is approved by the National Association of Social Workers for 1.5 continuing education contact hours. Upon successful completion of this activity, 1.5 contact hours will be awarded. Successful completion of this continuing education activity includes the following: attending the entire CE activity, completing the online evaluation, and submitting an online CE request. Your certificate will be sent via email. If you have any questions about this CE activity, contact Fiona Morrison-Fleming. We also want to take a moment to recognize that addressing MMIP, and more specifically, American Indian and Alaska Native deaths, is an incredibly sensitive topic that might affect some participants today more than others. If you find yourself impacted by today's discussion, please connect with your support networks or reach out to NCUI and we can provide you with healing resources. We will now introduce our wonderful presenters. Donna Cubit attended California State University Bakersfield Extended Studies to earn her credential in alcohol and substance use counseling. She has been working in the helping field for over 20 years. Tara Grace spent part of her upbringing attending a boarding school in South Dakota before pursuing her higher education at the University of South Dakota, where she earned a bachelor's degree in psychology. She is a published artist centering her work on MMIP, social justice, and the indigenous community. Lawrence Salcido received his education from Bakersfield College and received 2 associate degrees in philosophy and American Sign Language before transferring to California State University, Bakersfield to receive his bachelor's of arts in psychology with a focus in organizational psychology. We will now turn it over to our Bakersfield team for their presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. First, I'd like to start by asking if there's anyone in this training or presentation that is older than I that would like to open in prayer? And if not, then I will do the pleasure. Creator, thank you for allowing this safe space for us to meet today and getting this very important information out. We invite you here, be a part of our presentation, and allow all the words to be helpful and considerate of all. We thank you for all of the sacredness, Mother Earth, all of our family members and relatives. We thank you for the four-legged, the crawling ones, the winged ones. And we thank you for each other that we're doing this important work. Ahu. So what I would also like to make mention, and I know that we are all on different lands, but it is critical that we acknowledge the land in which we are working off of. So our land acknowledgements here in Kern County and our indigenous people from the pueblos, the rancherias, and the tribal lands, to the original people here. The area known to Kern County today is the homeland of several American Indian tribes, including the federally recognized Tohono tribe, the Compromise Kintentment, the Yokuts, the Shumash people, the Tabalabo, the Tulumi, the Pelagoyan people, and the Western Mono people, the Kawasu people, and the Chalon people. May we acknowledge and honor our indigenous people who came before us and still walk beside us today on the ancestral lands by choosing to gather today in active practicing and acknowledging and appreciation for the Kern County indigenous people's history and contribution to our lives. Thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you. So some of the things that we're going to be talking about today is how do we provide safe space for the folks that are healing from traumas of all kinds. And here at our facility, we do talking circles with a lot of medicine and led by and conducted, instructed by our elders. Some of the challenges that we have faced is the intergenerational traumas. And that will be continued work forever, I am assuming. So what has worked, though, is providing community, safe community, and bringing our people back together. That's one of the biggest things here that I have noticed is that the community that was taken is the community that we are rebuilding and working through the trauma so that others can begin to trust each other and get back to their lineages. Next slide. So what is the MMIP or WP? Here we have shortened that to MMIP because it's all persons. stands for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women or Persons. It is a movement which advocates for the end of violence against Native women and people, whether it be sexual violence, domestic violence, stalking, sex trafficking, and others. The movement started with a focus primarily on Native women, but over time it was found that Native men, two-spirit relatives, Native children also experience these levels of violence. It's often symbolized as the red handprint, either over the mouth or by itself, and often associated with the phrases, "No more stolen sisters" or "No more stolen relatives." So next slide, please. Yeah, if we could start that.
Sacred flowers, sacred mother, earth is crying for her daughters. Sacred flowers, sacred mother, earth is crying for her daughters. Where have you gone? Who took them from us? Who stole them from us? Sacred flowers. Sacred flowers, sacred mother, earth is crying for her daughters. Sacred flowers, sacred mother, earth is crying for her daughters. Blooming life on the rest, bringing light to our lives. You are missing your mess. Sacred flowers.
So I would like to add a special thanks to Pat and Bonnie Mata, who provided us with the video. And Pat was performing in the video as well. So they are doing big things in the movement as well to try and get the word out and stop the violence. So some of the things that we have going on coming up is the MMIW or P at the Cal State University of Bakersfield. We will be doing the walk there again this year. We attended last year and we'll be attending again this year. And we will also tragically be honoring one of our own who went missing. And unfortunately, when they found her, she didn't make it. So we will be honoring her this year in the walk as well. Lawrence, did you have anything you wanted to add here?
Just that there are organizations that are doing really good work for the MMIP community at the movement. And sometimes it can be difficult to locate them and to gain the trust of your community. So one of the things that we'll be talking about later is the importance of consistency and showing up. And so that's what we did this last year at the MMIW walk at CACB. We showed up, and so we started building that trust, and now we're at a point where we can start doing the good work that we've needed to do for decades.
Yeah. So at this walk, not only did many of our elders show up, but our drummers were also there, spreading their good medicine. So they plan on being there again this year, and the numbers are already growing. We're still waiting on, I think, David to get us a flyer. I wanted to include that here, but we didn't get it in time to add it. So, but it will be on May 3rd, beginning at 9 o'clock at Cal State Bakersfield. Next slide, please. Oh, that came up quick, didn't it?
We are a close community, family and friends. We are proud of our heritage, passionate about our culture. Some of our kids are high flying, doing really well. They don't get the credit they deserve. Everyone used to help everyone out. It's a little bit different now. Some of our kids suffer. We need to circle back, come together, and leave our differences behind. We don't want to talk about it. It's hush, 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 hush.
Teaching our children the way we are taught. Toughen up. Everybody has some kind of trauma they're living through. Shaming each other, making fun. Words stick and hurt. Bullying, alcohol, drugs, violence, abuse. We ignore it until it strikes close to home. Sitting isolated, quiet. People say it's kids being kids. They're going through a phase. It's brushed under the rug. That doesn't happen here. It's always too late. This is a family issue. We need to keep it in the family. Suicide is like molestation. It's hush hush. Hush hush. Hush hush.
Losing one is losing 1,000. It's one of those things we don't talk about. It should be something bigger. Our healing starts with our kids, the way we bring them up. What do we look for? How do we help? We need to get involved. We need to know. Educate us. Get the word out. Just saying we are going to do it, that's not enough. That's how we have always done it in the past. But times change, kids change, we need to change. You see stuff, you see signs, we need to ask what's wrong. We need to get help. But we taught them not to talk about it. It's hush hush, hush hush, hush hush.
So for this video, one of the things we wanted to bring up was the idea of the stigma surrounding issues in Native country and how a lot of times they don't want to be talked about, pushed under the rug, kept hush hush. And that's one of the issues we faced when trying to reach out to our community is I had heard before I started here, whenever there was a male client coming in for services, mental health services, they would come in through a back door because they were ashamed to come through the front. But we have to work hard and work consistently to help reduce that stigma, to understand that, everyone has issues that they're going through and it's nothing to be ashamed about. It's something to be worked on. But that's a long conversation and takes time to build that trust. Next slide. And so these are the statistics we got from the QA from 2022, stating that 84.3% of Native American women or Alaska Native women have reported violence within their lifetime. And that number for Native men, in Alaska Native men, is 81.6%. But we just talked about that stigma, about the shame of not wanting to bring it up, keeping it hush hush. So these numbers are probably much higher. And if they're already this high as they are, how many people just didn't want to report what happened to them? Donna, did you want to add
Adding
something?
to this, I'm sorry, adding to this, also, Lawrence, I will add that having worked with men and women, the men are so underreported because of the guilt and shame with the trauma. And yet they're the leaders of the family many times, and they're dealing with the trauma that they cannot speak on. So you see it in all the other areas and how it comes out. But they too, you must find a safe place and breaking down those walls to provide a space where they can begin to get real. I have worked with several men that it took 3 to 5 years for them to finally trust enough to speak about their truth. And then we got to start working on all this other stuff. But it wasn't until then that I was safe enough to hold their truth. And it took that long to break down those walls where they could get to the root of a lot of the issues. So the women can speak easier than the men. And so for the men, they're so underreported, and none of them had marked any of these in any of the initial assessments. So it's critical that we can see through what they're saying and continue to provide safety so that they too can eventually get to the bottom of the root of their traumas and how it continues on through the generations. Yeah.
Thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that.
Mhm.
And from those that were reported, 97% of Native women experienced some form of violence from a non-American Indian Alaskan Native assaulter at least once. And for that number, for Native men, that's 90%. And again, we're talking about that underreporting, like what the number actually could be, and we just won't know until we do the good work and we form those bonds and we form that trust and we show up. I think that's one of the bigger things. We just need to show up consistently. That way, they know that when they are ready to open up, that we're here to listen, and we're here to listen in a good way.
And also start introducing many of them to their culture for the first time. That's part of the trauma and the separation, the isolation, is when they weren't raised in their culture yet. It's a huge part of their healing. So providing them with all that we have from many different tribes, because we serve intertribal here, and getting the elders from each of those tribes in place to be able to best help whichever, if it's a male or female. So we work diligently at making sure they have access to the traditional forms of medicine that also help heal. We get them around the drum and we get them to lodge, and we're doing everything we know to do, and mostly going to the elders to help advise and direct and provide the spaces that they're longing for as we work through and heal that generational trauma that has been handed down for many generations already.
And besides just the elders and the adults who didn't grow up in the culture, we're also trying to get a lot of youth to come to our clinic. We're offering a lot of events that we'll talk about later. That we want to get those youth here and exposed to their culture early on. That way, they know that there's a place that they can go when they need that healing. Whether it's the heartbeat of the drum, the songs, the activities, the community, the free food. There's ways that we have to think about getting these youth involved. We have to kind of play their game a little bit. That way they can learn ours.
Mm-hmm. They take great pride in learning the beading, learning how to make that regalia. And there's so many stories that are being told. It is providing that community, the one thing that it's the glue that really held us all together, because everyone was there traditionally in community, in our tribes, in our circles. And that's one of the things that has created space for so much trauma, is that that sense of community has been lost. And we're working diligently on creating the space for community and healing. Okay. Next slide, please. Anything else, Lawrence, that you wanted to add there?
Nothing there.
Thank
I
you.
think we covered it. And we have some more statistics here about different types of victimization, whether it's psychological or physical violence. You know, it's hard to look at a number and think about all the people that are affected by that number. It's hard to look at a 73% of men having experienced psychological aggression by an intimate partner and understanding what that number actually means, who those people are. But it's important we don't lose sight of, these numbers represent people. And we're narrowing it down here to make it presentable, but that psychological aggression can take the form of many types of, aggressions. Same for the women, psychological aggression for a man might look completely different for psychological aggression for a woman. We've heard a lot about in the last couple of years the term gaslighting going around a lot, and that is an issue that a lot of women experience. They're being gaslit by men who think that they know better, think that they know what they're going through, and that's not the case. And then physical violence. Excuse me. Let me take a drink of water. Physical violence, as well as, the numbers they can't speak for themselves. If you break it down, 1 in every 2 women have experienced physical violence by an intimate partner. And those numbers are unacceptable. We can't allow that to continue to happen. So we have to offer resources in the best way that we know how, which is through cultural healing, holistic healing that we're going to be talking about, and hope that through that healing they can learn how to get themselves out of that situation and learn that there are resources out there that can help them. Donna, did you want to add anything else here?
Yeah, one of the things that is critical that we look at also is the prisons are full of our people, and some of the main issues, when you break it all down, not only is it the generational trauma, but that has only happened since the separation. It is attachment and abandonment issues. So without those core features that we always had before being separated and taken away and off to boarding schools, and creating that division between and that bond between mother and child, then it continues for generation and generation. And I haven't met a person yet, and I've been doing this for a very long time, that is not dealing with the trauma from the attachment issues. It's those core things that we are really working diligently on, is rebuilding a foundation from the beginning and helping them to understand where it stems from. So these things are vital in helping folks to understand that this wasn't part of our traditional lives. This only came after the traumas was given to us, and the separation and the division that took place. So we are diligently working on a lot of long-term traumas. So when I say generational things, and when the grandparents have been torn from their children, and then that's handed down to the mothers, and then the next set of moms, and they've lost that instinctual that we had when we were all living together on the land where we were healthy and together. And so these are the things that we are working diligently on. And if you get statistics from all the ones that are incarcerated, when you get to the bottom of it, it is mostly that they're lacking that attachment. So we'll keep working on that as we move through. Also, anything more, Lawrence, that you wanted to add?
No, I think we're good for the next slide.
Thank you. So this is our new building, and just so that you guys can know and understand the growth that we are going through. Not only is this a 14,000 square foot building, but we are starting soon to make it a 2 or 3 story building, because we're busting at the seams. There's such a huge need. And when you begin to provide that safe space and people are healing, the smoke signals have been going out, and they know, hey, tell your cousin, tell your auntie, tell your tia, tell your grandma, tell everybody. And currently we are really doing a lot of good healing work here. And it's not enough. We can never do enough. So with our space that we provide here on the grounds, we have some holistic gardens in the back, and the elder women love to come and garden and talk and help one another through, the talking circles, and as they speak, and they get to teach the youth as well. Here, come, let me tell you a story, and let me teach you how we lived off the land as we're getting our hands and our feet in the dirt, and all the grounding that takes place. So some of the basic things that are missing in today's society is, we rarely put our bare feet on the ground to get that medicine and get in balance, get the energies that we're used to having. Now we all have rubber soles shoes, and it really does prevent us from making those connections to Mother Earth. So when the elders here, we have taken the youth in gathering of medicines, and if we don't have it here, or an elder doesn't have it growing, we do have properties that is here for the purpose of healing. And one of our elders had 20 something acres that was donated to them, and we recently did a water ceremony up there, and we built a sweat lodge. And so you had to go gather the willows to make the sweat lodge, and this just all happened last weekend. So the elders are really being diligent to hand down these traditions, and with the medicines, and how they were taught, and we're piecing it all back together best we can with the knowledge that we have. and you can see the results of the young people, the youth wanting to get involved. They want to be of service to the elders, and it's all part of being that collective community that we've had division from for generations now. So our whole thing is to get people back together, provide them safe space, and allow the elders who have the most knowledge to affect the youngest people. So we're bringing them all back and together, and the healing is taking place under those circumstances. So thank you. Next slide. So in the Wellbriety movement, I'm not sure how many of you are aware of the Wellbriety movement, but it is literally strips it all back down to the basics of what tradition really looked like originally before all the traumas happened. And if you're aware, this movement was created by Don Cohese, and he was going into the prisons trying to reach the men, the fathers, the leaders. So that's where this Wellbriety all stems from. And we do have the Wellbriety groups here. Miss Cheyenne is running most of those now, but the focus is for all the directions in healing, which follows the medicine wheel, the 4 directions, the north, east, south, and west, the 4 seasons, winter, spring, summer, and fall, the 4 elements of fire, earth, air, and water, which we have been doing ceremony with all of these each seasons as well. Our whole self, which is the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, and social. So we have to hit all of those areas in order to be whole. Also honoring the cycles of life, the infant, the youth, the adults, and the elders. And we work toward getting in balance and being in harmony to be of service to others and the community. A huge part of what has been lost or removed from us is that when you don't do each area and heal each area simultaneously, you're still going to be out of balance if you leave out any of those areas. So that's the approach that we take. We work on mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and then also socially. How can we get people back together to work on all of these areas at the same time for total healing? Lawrence, do you want to read that right bottom there?
Yeah. So under the photo, it says we utilize the white bison teachings and guidelines. Here, the destruction stops. We will heal ourselves. We will heal our wounded relationships. We will heal our children. We will heal our nations. On this day, our future history begins.
Yeah, so we have taken that quite literally and do the best that we can to follow all the 4 seasons, the directions. When we pray in all 4 directions so that each area and each stage of life is also covered in that. So it's important that we don't forget or miss some of that stuff. Next slide, please. So the importance of talking circles, many people think, you go there and you talk, but reality is that the safe space that the talking circle provides is the bonds that are missing between one another and community. I know I continue to repeat myself on this because it's so critical. If you think about your lives and the relationships that you have and how important they are, whether it's a church, an organization, a club, all of the things that we used to do very naturally from birth, being a part of that community has been altered and changed, and society that many live in today is it's every man for himself, and good luck with that. But in what we are really trying to bring it all back to is how important we all are to one another, and what is our role, and how can we get that safe space incorporated to these other folks who are still dealing diligently with the abandonment issues and the lack of trust and not having that communal thought process or feelings. So the most important thing is that, you know, for the talking circles, they're traditional forms of sharing, respect, honor, and healing. They bring a sense of belonging, closeness to community, and provide safety. This is a way to talk about life's events and how you are impacted, building trust and resilience. Individuals learn courage and strength from feeling vulnerable and trusting their peers with their challenges, fears, injuries, traumas, successes, and joys. These circles become close, a form of family and support. It's important to set ground rules and expectations for newcomers so everyone feels safe. Things provided a safe space for sharing and healing, consistency, same place and same time. Traditional medicines are used, the sage, the cedar, sweetgrass, tobacco, and the prayer and traditional songs, hand drums, clappers, sticks, and rattles may also be used, or whatever else may be used in your tribes. Smudging may be used to bless or cleanse. Now, on that, I know there is a lot of stipulations depending on where you are and what type of building that you're providing services in. But inside our building, we have managed to use our smudging and medicines because fortunately we do have an exterior door. So once we're done with the talking circles and we have smudged, we sing the songs, we do the prayers, we can open an exterior door. But I also send out emails to everyone in the facility that says it's talking circle day. Smudging may be used during this time if there's any sensitivities. Everyone is aware. We have our air purifiers that we run. And so far, thus far, we haven't ran into any forms of backlash from it. So everyone is aware. We will open the exterior door when we're finished. And yet we still get to use our traditional medicines that really do help people start making connections back to their traditional ways. And it provides a safe space for healing as well. Lawrence, you want to grab the box? Read the box, please. Thank you.
Oh,
Did I cover most of it?
yeah, I think you covered most of it.
Okay.
you said the email. Oh, the only thing you didn't mention was we also post announcements outside of the door from where smudging will take place.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay.
and that's, just to make sure, like, in case people don't have time to check their emails, or if we have clients on site that don't have access to our email, our internal emails, let them know as well. That way, in case they are sensitive to smudging as well, they can. Thankfully, we have a very kind of circular building, so if you need to get somewhere, you can go around and avoid the smudging area if need be. So that way you're not interrupting that sacred space, that safe space that we're trying to build. But on that topic of, like, you mentioned how it comes to form a family. One of the things that we're also trying to address is following the lockdown from COVID-19. There's a lot of isolation and a lot of abandonment for our elders, and so we want to make sure that our goal is to eventually become a walk-in, like, any time of the day, where uh, elders who just need to get out of the house, need to want to socialize, want to stretch their legs a little bit, that they can come here and do that. And while they're here, if they want to help us out with teaching our youth the stories, the songs, the history, then they are welcome and encouraged to do that. We're actually starting an elders council of sorts, and they'll be meeting every Friday here on site, or they'll talk about the services that we offer, what we could be doing better, what we're doing good. Do we need to advertise something more? Do we need to bring in more youth for certain things? And we also have a youth group that meets every other Tuesday, and we're teaching them about traditional medicines. We're teaching them about understanding their own emotions and their own feelings. So, like, we're trying really hard to add to that sense of that family. Donna had mentioned we're all nowadays very individualistic, and we're trying to bring it back to that community focused healing through our holistic methods.
Yeah. Some of the other things that we're also doing that has really made a huge impact on our elders is, well, even currently as we're speaking, outside my door, they're doing Tai Chi classes. So it has really made a big impact on the elders' confidence building, their stability, their foundation of their gait. So their gaits has changed. They're more stable on their feet. They're having less trips and falls. And that building of the confidence allows them to get here, be more able to participate more safely. And so they're building a whole nother community in the whole medical side of things. They're much more stable, and they feel like they can participate more, not so afraid of falling as they're out there walking through the gardens or up in the mountains gathering medicines. And so the things that we are doing, even with the nutrition classes that we have going, they're eating better. Their diabetes is getting under control, and they're watching those numbers. They're learning how to use the foods that they're accustomed to buying and making them healthier. So that also is generational. So they will be teaching their grandchildren and their nieces, their nephews, the aunties, what they are learning and how they are incorporating the food that is grown. Last year when it was garden times and the crops were coming off, our nutritionists would bring those fresh right out of the garden and take them right into our kitchen and begin to implement those fresh vegetables and herbs, working on those diets and the diabetes and getting all of that stuff helpful for the generations to come. So just more and more things that we're doing that are holistic, we're really starting to see a change in the numbers, and the young people are interested in seeing the change and how to learn to cook healthier, and some of the traditional foods have been made here in our kitchen, and those are more the things that we would like you guys to know, that these things are possible, because we are living, breathing, and a work in progress. Next slide, please. So the talking circles and the Wellbriety, we touched a little bit on that, but we're utilizing our elders to teach traditional ways of healing. We're teaching, we have a teaching drum, and the youth are really being impacted by that heartbeat. They're excited about making the regalia and learning the songs and dancing. We've made moccasins here. We've made medicine bags, satchels. So they're starting to piece things that have been lost and missing in their lives back together. Lawrence, do you want to read a few of these, please?
Yeah. So besides the drumming, and we also offer dancing as well, teaching traditional dancing to go along with the drumming. We also do sacred ceremonies, seeking wisdom and guidance from Creator, and some of that is involved in our talking circle. Some of it is before we start an event, like how we did today. We started with a prayer. We also use traditional medicines and ceremonies and healing. We've recently, in the last 2 months, were invited by a local tribe to gather medicine on their land, and it was a huge honor for us to be welcomed onto their land. You know, that it shows that we built that trust, that we formed those connections, that we've found that family together. And we also invite storytellers to come out, whether that's to our community events or even just for our staff. At our last staff meeting, we had a presentation from one of our elders, Gino Petrie, who talked about the local history and talked about the local flora and fauna, and you know, he's like a well of wisdom, and we were just happy that he was willing to share that with us. We're also learning to live in peace and harmony with all of our relations. Donna mentioned we are an intertribal organization. We don't tailor to any one specific tribe. Even our board of directors makes up, you know, I think 4 or 5 different tribes alone. So, you know, we're leading by example, whether for us from our board to our management to our staff. We're trying to be all inclusive, you know. And then the crying and laughing ceremonies, it goes back to the talking circles, where, you know, it's whether you're at a talking circle and that talking circle is a guided talking circle where Donna is smudging before and after, or that talking circle could be going to a beading class and engaging your community and sharing stories with people that are there with you. There's definitely a lot of laughing, but you know, we want to open them up to be comfortable crying as well, because that's something that some people like, oh, I'll never cry unless I'm at home in my shower by myself. But we want to open them up to be like, no, it's okay to do that, and we want to open that space for you to do that here.
Yeah. So when some of the tribes, when the babies laugh the first time, they do a ceremony of around that. So it's a milestone and a blessing and a spiritual advancement. So we like to acknowledge that. Let's see, where did we go from here? Hold on one second. Yeah, these are all things that's covered in the sacred ceremonial grounds in nature. We learn to cry and laugh and confront our shame. We forgive the unforgivable and return to the values of our ancestors, teaching healthy love, courage, justice, generosity, respect, humility, gratitude, and acceptance of those who are different. And when you talk about those that are different, we welcome any and all religions. So, and that's how you treat with the intertribal. It's everyone is welcome. We accept whatever your beliefs are. We're just trying to provide non-bias, safety, consistency, and as much information as we can from the elders. Next slide, please. So these are some of the things that we have been doing for a while now. The historical and generational trauma, that will forever be, I think, till the end of time. But our goal is to end it as soon as possible, at least give people an understanding as to how to get back to the basics of their roots and begin to implement traditions the best that we understand them from all of our elders, no matter which tribes they're coming from. So we're eliminating the stigma that if you're a male and you've had sexual trauma, you know, you're still welcome here. We're going to provide you with a safe space to get through that. It's all about trust building, funding. Lawrence, do you know more about that? You want to talk about the funding?
Yeah, so we are very heavily grant funded, and as with all grant funding, if that grant runs out and they no longer offer it, then we lose that source of funding. So we're looking for ways to become sustainable by reaching out to different organizations to see what we can do to become a sort of one-stop shop where we offer the medical services, we offer the behavioral health services. Like currently, all of our services on offer are, I believe they're free, as long as you register with our clinic, and we want to keep it that way as much as possible. But you know, that funding source will eventually run out. Thankfully, we have a fantastic grants team. Johnny, who's currently out of the city, working on getting more money for us. We've hired a new grants analyst. You know, like when Donna says that we're busting at the seams, like it's literal.
Literally.
We're getting so many staff that are passionate and interested in the work that we're doing, that want to help us. Oh, and also we have Angel in the chat. It says happy to report out in this section should you need me to. Oh, that's good to know.
Oh, Angel, thanks.
Hi, boss.
Angel is our
I mean,
CEO, as if
mhm.
you guys don't know that yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Angel
he can
Gala
chime in or not. I don't know if he can be unmuted, but he always has plenty to say.
Yeah, would it be possible if we can unmute Angel? Galvez?
I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. There you
Oh, very neat.
Hi, Angel.
Well, hi everyone. Sorry, I didn't mean to interject here, but I just wanted to sort of give a little bit of context because many of those who are in this space may have questions about sort of kind of why we're heavily grant funded. And part of the reason is that our UIO in California is one of the last outreach and referral programs. And so we have been an outreach and referral program transitioning to an ambulatory program. So we don't generate third-party revenue. And that's really kind of the reason why our organization is still heavily granted or relies on grants to do the work that we do. However, one important thing is that, and this is kind of why I wanted to jump in this space, is yes, anyone who's American Indian or Alaska Native, we or indigenous, we write our grants to support that community of focus, and so so there's no direct cost to receiving the majority of our services, right? So we're funded by Indian Health Services, and we're funded by many other organizations, federal, state, and local. And so we're able to absorb the cost of our Native people so that they don't have co-payments or they don't have cost to seeing a provider per se, whether it be behavioral health, substance use, or medical-like basic services. And so I just wanted to kind of throw that in there because we are transitioning. We're in transitional period where we're moving into ambulatory care. And then I think that's going to offer an enormous opportunity to become more sustainable. And so really our strategic plan was more about how do we become sustainable forever. And Donna and Mr. Lawrence talked a little bit about that. But to see none of these traditional and sacred practices ever go away from the integrated care model that we offer for our people. And so I'll turn it back over to you, Lawrence and Donna, at this point.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Wes. So what has worked for us? The
If we can go
getting
to the
back
next
to,
slide.
yes, I'm sorry, next slide. What has worked for us? Getting back to basics, and that is learning the culture to teach the culture. So our elders are really stepping up and excited to tell what they know to our youth, including them into those dance steps, teaching them how to harvest the medicines. When we were out in the field and harvesting sage, I'm telling you, those young people were lit up. They were so excited about learning this from the elders. So there's a great deal of respect and knowledge, and the young people really spark up and for the elders, because the elders see the young people when they're interested and they want to learn. It's a win-win for all the generations. The elders see that hunger in the youth, and the youth are like, they so need us, right? We're stable, we're teaching them, we're giving them a place to talk about the knowledge that they have that is so important for the elders to hand down to the youth. And so the cycle is really starting to come full circle. So culture with the smudging and prayer, the traditional medicines, we're teaching the songs and the dance, the storytellers, and the ceremonies. So the traditional ceremonies are continuing to come, different tribes, different ways of doing things, but everybody is being fed and reaping the rewards of getting grounded and back to basics. So the community, we have the drum and the dancing group, the regalia making classes, the beading classes, the youth and prevention groups. In the wellness, we're doing the Tai Chi, the bingo size, the nutrition, the gardening, and the medicine gathering. And some of our elder women have been literally making teas and salves, everything that they have gathered off of Mother Earth, and teaching the younger ones how to make these medicines that have been around since the beginning of time. So these are all things that we're very excited to continue sharing for the generations coming up. And the education is the elders. Our elders are the education, not to mention the doctors and also, you know, our authority figures here that we work up under, but our board and our CEO and the nurses and the doctors, they also, the nutritionists, they all have an input on providing these spaces where people can come and learn and gather and socialize and keep handing it down and moving it forward. So in the education, the elders are probably the most important. And then we do the nutrition and education and the mental health resources that we provide, and the culturally competent care that we get better every day, every year, as we come together and become stronger as a community. It just keeps getting better and better, and our people are getting healthier and healthier. And it is all the things that we're doing is getting back to basics, what was taken from us so many years ago. So that's our goal. Our goal is to continue moving in this way. The cultural education classes are a real hunger and thirst for our people that have been abandoned emotionally and taken away from these things that used to be handed down so freely. So it's a lot of work. We're doing the work, and we're getting to see the people, you know, reap the rewards of making this happen. Next slide, please. Anyone have anything more they want to add, Lawrence?
Actually, I was going to go back. Can we go back to that last slide one more time? Sorry. One of the things I wanted to add was, if you're looking at some of these items and you think like, oh well, we talked about elders being part of culture, so why isn't elders under culture? A lot of these things are interconnected. We can't have, you know, elders fall under education, community, culture, wellness. Tai Chi falls under wellness, community, education. Medicine gathering falls under wellness, culture, community, education. Like all of these things tie into each other in a way that we can't have one without the other. We can't have medicine gathering without gardening. We can't have Tai Chi without elders. We can't have beading class without ceremonies, right? We can't have regalia making without songs and dance. All these things are reliant upon each other to continue allowing us to do that good work that we need to do. But that's all I wanted to add on about that.
Thank you, Lawrence. And were you going to take this one, Lawrence? The community events? Sure thing.
Yep. Yeah. So a few weeks ago, we had our annual spring gathering event, which is the time for us to honor and respect Mother Earth, but also create that space for our community members to come and just be themselves. I heard one elder say like, oh, like when I'm outside of the clinic, I'm Mexican. When I'm at the clinic, I'm Native American. And I can enjoy being Native American. I don't have to hide it. That's that goes back to that intergenerational trauma that Donna was speaking about. Is a lot of Native people often didn't identify as Native growing up, and we're trying to create that space for them to be open to identifying openly with their culture and recognizing their culture and sharing their culture, because that's how we keep it going. And so the importance of these community events is to allow them to have that space to do that. So the spring gathering we mentioned was the honoring for Mother Earth and welcoming of spring around the equinox. And we had our biggest turnout, I believe, ever. Last year we had about 400 something attendees, and this year we got about 650 attendees. So like there's when Don mentions like there's that hunger for it, there's that desire for it. That's what that is. This is our 4th annual event, and it's only getting bigger and bigger every year. That falls under that consistency thing that we talked about. If you show up and you keep showing up, even if the first event is 12 people, if you put on a good event, and if you show goodwill, if you make that authentic effort, next year it'll double. Next year after that, it might triple. Next year after that, it might quadruple. Because people will talk. People will share with their families. People will go to their aunties, their uncles, their relatives, and want them to come and enjoy what they got to experience and experience it with them. And then for the Gathering of Native Americans, that's one of those events where we focus on the values. There are 4 major values for each GONA that we try to address, such as generosity and interconnectedness, I believe. And so it's more of an educational event where we try to showcase these values, why they're important, how you can engage in them in a good way, in a culturally appropriate way. And then our Native American Heritage Month is kind of our big wrap-up event we held in November every year, where we honor those community members who have really showed up, who've shared, who shared the wisdom with us. And then we also honor the staff who work so hard to make sure that the clinic is running as smoothly as possible. And it's like a big celebration of everything that we've done for the last year. We invite speakers out, we give out awards, we invite community partners to come out and share the resources with us, because that's one of the things that we always need to do, is make sure that community knows what's available for them besides us, because we can only do so much on our own. We need the support of our community members, of our partners, to keep doing the work that we're doing. Do we want to add anything else to our events?
Just that historically we have honored those that have made a great impact on our people. And we typically will do that with wrapping of the blanket, maybe a plaque, or but we always serve a beautiful meal to everyone. There is drumming and dancing that takes place, and singing. So it is a great way to bring everyone together and honor them, be in the same space for togetherness, actually, and looking back over the year to say, great works, folks, and keep it coming. Let's keep working on it. Let's do better. And we'll see you again next year, right? Because we want to see it continue to grow, and how many people are being impacted, and the lives that are changing due to all the work and the spaces that we're providing for everyone. So, and we're getting to see the changes that's taking place. So thank you. Next slide. Anything else? Anyone want to add anything else to that? Okay.
I think we're good.
Next slide then. Yeah. Lessons learned. We must be consistent. So no matter who's here, we're going to set a date, a time, and we're going to be here. If one shows, we're going to build with that one. So building trust, how do we get back through and rebuild on this generational trauma? I said earlier that smoke signals get out, good and bad, right? So we want to make sure that the smoke signals that we're sending out are in a positive, good, healthy way. We're providing that safe space. We're demonstrating commitment. Nothing worse than starting and not completing. So in this type of work, there is no end. It will continue as long as there are people. And we can't forget that. This isn't something that's going to go quickly. We have to do generational healing. So be inclusive, get the word out, right? So take a diverse community into consideration, and we're doing that. We are an all-inclusive facility. We don't care what your sexuality is, what religion you are. If you can utilize our services, we will provide you healing services here. Intertribal practices and beliefs, we shared on that earlier. Learn to incorporate traditional medicine when possible, daily practices, meetings, events, education, and outreach. So we always want to put that first and foremost. Next slide, please. So in closing, I wanted to acknowledge one of our own. She was a MMIP person and had been missing for months. So this was one of the reasons that we started seeking more knowledge on how can we better serve our community when this occurs. And so we will continue to work on this. We're going to do a page on our website with the list of all the things that we have learned from the Department of Justice and others in the community that can help advise, give phone numbers, resources, referrals, and also add a survey on there from the Department of Justice that they said, please, if you can put this on, add it to your page, and that way we can get the feedback and hear the community, what the needs are and how we can best serve. So we will be also including some of the stuff from the DOJ onto our page when we get it up and fully functioning for the MMIP. And that's all I have. Next, anyone want to include? There you go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Donna and Lauren. That was an amazing presentation. The floor is now open for any questions or comments that anyone from the audience may have about today's presentation. Please feel free to turn your camera on and come off mute, or you can place your questions in the chat box, and we will try our very best to answer every single one. And Angel, if you would like to add anything, feel free. The floor is open to you as well. I know this is you're a part of this team, so if you would like to add anything, feel free to go ahead.
Thank you, Eli. I appreciate it. You know, I think the team did a fine job really sharing with everybody just a summary of what we do here and what we've been doing. There's also a lot of sacred practices that we probably didn't get a chance to cover just because of the length of time. But, you know, in many of our communities, our sacred practices are sort of kept in our circle, meaning they're for us, they're with us. Singing at funerals is one of those sacred practices. We have various sacred songs as well. So it is something that our health center is becoming more of a place to request those things. So I show up to funerals, our elders show up to funerals, other elders in the tribal communities very much connected to our clinic show up to funerals or weddings or baby dedications or anything of that. Right? So Donna, many of our healthcare system workforce is either they identify as Native American. There's specific training that by nature of just, you know, attending and associating many of the things that we talked about begin to immerse themselves in this tradition, in this culture. And so we become more comfortable about being asked and showing up and being part of the lesson. So I just wanted to kind of share that, because that's something that I think we miss out on in terms of presenting and talking about how does that look like and how do you get that going. And who decides that, right? Who gives it a blessing to do these things. And so it's just another way of really honoring our ancestors that once was with us. And so some of us continue to carry it. So I'll turn it over back to you all. If there is questions, happy to have Donna and Lawrence answer that, or if there's something that
Boss, I think you need to charge your headset. It's it's kind of staticking.
Yeah, a little.
I think you're running out of juice. Imagine that, you running out of juice. The Energizer Bunny running out of juice. I appreciate you.
Yes, of course. I
There
hope
you
it's better.
go. Hey, that's way better.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Thank you, Angel. We had a question from Catherine Carnegie. She said, do you use medicine, men/women there as well? Catherine, don't mind just coming off mute to clarify what you mean by that?
I couldn't understand the full question. I'm sorry. It was kind of
I think it was.
echoey.
I'll try to read between the lines. So just so y'all know, we don't necessarily tell people what to take. However, we do have a medical physician, a family physician. And so our family nurse practitioners, our family medicine physician, as well as our director of medical services and our director of clinical services are always having conversations about what our people are driving forward. So when there's tea making involved, or there's a traditional medicine, that our system is conversing. So most of these folks allow for us to have that dialogue about patient care and patient outcomes. And so if the question is about more, are we prescribing these traditional medicines, the short answer is no. However, we do support our garden, our earth, our property to be used for whatever that individual feels is a traditional medicine for them. So it is monitored, it is advised, and it is overseen by the medical treatment team. And there are conversations, because sometimes, if the individual may be like diagnosed with the mental health, and there's medication that's prescribed for managing or any of that sort, then there is a toxology that you really want to be very aware that whatever an individual's taking, it's appropriate for their care. And so again, I hope that helps answer the question, but we don't distinguish from men and women. We just basically handle conversations in that fashion. We've been doing that for over 2 or 3 years. We've never found any issues with it. We haven't had any incidents per se that called for more stricter, observance of these types of traditional medicines. And so definitely your system wants to create a process, a policy, procedures, have guidance, have workflows, but more importantly, have those circles of conversation and dialogue with your treatment team about your patients, and about some of those patients who may be dual diagnosed, may be dealing with co-occurring disorders, or may have chronic physical impairments to their health that require medication and a combination of perhaps even traditional medicine. So I hope that helps answer the question.
Thank you, Angel. And we also had a comment from Michelle. She just wanted to make a connection. She is with NARA, which is the American Rehabilitation Association of the Northwest.
Yeah, I think you're also breaking up.
Aaliyah, I think your mic's going dead. It's echoing. I can't.
Oh,
I'll read the question. So we got a comment from Michelle Pinkham saying we would like to connect NARA in Northwest, I'm guessing. Has been in operation for 54 years. We have 14 sites throughout the Portland metro area. And then they offer a link and an email, mpinkham@naranorthwest.org to connect. And if you want to reach out to us, you can email us at BAIHP community at Bakersfield AIHP.org.
is my mic better now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Zoe. Yeah. Yeah, I was just reading that comment and getting that connection out from Michelle. So yes, anyone else has any comments or questions? It's right at 3:30 and I don't want to take too much more of your time, but Phil,
I do want to. I would like to address Catherine's other comment. She says, was just wondering if you had a holistic approach to healing, so you use standard medical treatments. Thank you for your answer. We use more than just medical treatments. I think so. When you're asking about medicine, men and women, I think you're talking about like cultural leaders or spiritual leaders. We do have 2 cultural coordinators on site. Donna is one of them. So we utilize, it's holistic. It's everything, right? We look at the physical wellness, we look at the mental wellness, spiritual wellness, and emotional wellness. Like when we talk about holistic healing, that's what we're referring to. So it's more than just the medicine. It's more than just the talking circles. It's more than just the one-on-one therapy sessions that we offer. It's all of it. It's the community events. Everything is involved in our healing.
It's the safe space, yeah, that's provided for people to come and do their healing. Absolutely. And prayer is a big part of that for many people. Prayer is a huge part of, and they want to see when you're praying how you're using the medicines. And so don't be afraid to incorporate that if that's one of the things that is missing in the person's life. Yeah. That's it for me. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions?
we have a lot of thanks in the chat box, and everybody loved your presentation. It was amazing. So we really thank you guys for providing that to us. A lot of amazing information that can be applied.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right, and we can jump to the next slide. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this important session on MMIP prevention. We appreciate any feedback you would like to provide about your experience today. Please complete our session survey by using your phone to scan the QR code on the slide by clicking the link that will be placed in the chat box. If you have any questions, please email me or Maddie Curry. And we can also provide our presenters information as well if you have any direct questions for them. And just as a reminder, NACUI is also hosting many other events that we would love for you all to join. These events include the overview of current issues in the 340B program in partnership with the Alliance to Save America's 340B programs on April 17th, and the NACUI 2024 annual conference, which will be on April 29th to May 2nd. And if you scan that QR code as well, you can access our other events that will happen later in the year. And as a reminder, the Technical Assistance and Research Center provides individualized technical assistance, training, and support to UIO members. And again, thank you so much for joining this important session. Any feedback you would like to provide about your webinar experience, please do not hesitate to complete the session survey. Thank you for your attendance, and we hope you all have a wonderful day.